So I'm going to answer the question of what I eat and what I avoid, and kind of just talk about eating and draining. So as to things to avoid versus things to eat, I really wish I could give a definite list of things that will drain and things that won't drain. Unfortunately, besides this differing from person to person, it also differs for me every day. So for example, yesterday I was able to have 3 slices of bacon. Other than that, I've been avoiding bacon for the last 3 months due to not being able to drain super well. So unfortunately, there is no definite list that I can say of eat this and don't eat that, but I can share 2 tips that I do that kind of help me gauge that. So when I started doing food trials again, when I got food back when I was 15, we started me actually on a lot softer foods. So like the first thing I got back was I tried applesauce. So essentially like pureed soft baby foods tend to drain the best. Also, one thing that helps is drinking water along with it. It will help to flush it out. And I do find that making sure that you are draining before you eat can help you drain while you eat. Now, I wish that I could say that that always prevents not feeling well from eating, but it is kind of a coin toss at times. So to wrap up the first part, basically softer foods. So like nothing like super heavy. So for me, if I'm having a slow draining day or I know I'm not draining well, then typically I'm going to avoid eating bananas and especially avoid eating bacon because neither of those drain super well. So I know if I'm already not draining well that it's not a good idea to eat either of those since those already will slow down my draining. So the second thing I do is a lot easier said than done, and that is listening to my body. You'd think by now that I had it down to a perfect science. I don't. Sometimes my body plays by one rules one day and another set of rules the next day. But mainly what I look for before I decide if I'm going to eat something or not is I look at how I'm draining beforehand. So if I'm draining rather sluggish and the bile is rather thick, and I already have been maybe a bit nauseous or felt reflux a little bit more that morning, then I know that heavier foods like maybe eating a solid apple, and especially like I said, the heavier foods like bacon and banana isn't a great idea to eat that day. Sometimes I just bypass eating orally at all those days if the draining is super slow, and I'll just opt to drink. Now, one thing that I do that does tend to help me drain is drinking water or drinking a warm drink. So for me, I typically drink coffee in the morning, which does help my draining because it's a hot liquid helping to get everything moving. So basically, to wrap it up, there's no absolute lists of foods to avoid versus foods you can eat, except for try to avoid thicker foods, and maybe try something thinner, like applesauce, fruit cups, and stuff like that, and drinking along with it to kind of help everything drain out, and drinking water and flushing your line to make sure you're draining well beforehand is always handy. And just listening to your body. Like I said, I know that is so much easier said than done, but really monitoring your nausea, how much or how easy that you've been draining that morning, and how your reflux and nausea have felt that morning truly can be a really good indicator on how to proceed with eating that day.